Hey guys, Littlefinger back again, this time with a game review of the T1 Tier 1 American Light Tank. This thing is small, does move pretty well. You can see here that I have upgraded the turret and the gun. So I played this tank with both the 37mm gun and the 20mm gun. I preferred the latter. It does have lower penetration, but it does have a higher rate of fire, and I found that this gun worked just fine at this tier. With the upgraded turret, this tank has 170 hit points and 10mm of armor both on the hull and turret. It comes in at just at 8 tons and has 132 horsepower with 41 kilometers as the top speed. Traverse speed there at 38 degrees per second. Let's talk about the gun now. So standard shell damage there between 7 and 12. Standard penetration between 22 and 37 with 68 rounds per minute. This gun does shoot a lot but doesn't do much damage. Let's go ahead and compare the T1 to the other Tier 1 tanks. You can see there it is above average with the hit points at 170. The hull and turret armor are pretty weak, below average, but it does excel with weight, engine, and top speed, being the fastest Tier 1 tank. You look at the shell penetrations and average damage, and you're going to say, well, this tank doesn't perform well, but if you look at the 30 millimeters average pen for the AP, that's above all of the other Tier 1, so you don't have any problems penning tanks. And with that 68 rounds per minute, it is one of the highest DPM tanks in Tier 1. Okay, so here's some gameplay video. This is a completely Tier 1 battle on Fort Despair. Sped up a little bit here, as I always like to go to the corner and try to take control of this side of the map. I think I'm getting some help here, but this guy decides to stop. I like to push up to the corner just so that if they come around, I can back up and kind of protect myself, because keep in mind that these Tier 1 and lower tier tanks don't have as much armor, so you want to use map features such as that wall there as protection. So we take care of the first guy that comes around solo, which is always a bad idea. And you can see here that I'm having a little bit of trouble with my gun depression, and I roll out probably a little bit further than I really should have. I guess I was lucky there that no one was aimed at me, so I'm thinking that this guy's going to come around the building and I want to try to protect my teammate, but he managed to finish him off himself and doesn't need any of my help. So I go back around the other side to get shots in across this valley area, making sure that when I'm on the reload here, I'm backing up behind the wall so that I'm not an open target for someone to shoot at. We finish that guy off, and again, reloading. I'm just sitting here reloading. There's no point me pulling out there and getting shot if I'm not ready to shoot myself. And you can see here, I again get into trouble with the gun depression, and I know those guys are probably looking at me, so I'm gonna pull back and try to find a point where I can get my gun depression just over this ridge here, and struggling a little bit, finally get a target. And you got to imagine that if they're looking at me, all they're seeing is the top of my tank too, so I'm not giving these guys much of a target like they are me. And we're down 4 tanks to 3 at this point. So I'm going to take a quick look here at the mini-map and at where my teammates are. And I think it's probably a good idea if I kind of get back in with them so that we can focus fire on anyone else that might come up without any support. So this T1 does exactly that, and we get some good shots into him here. But I'm not sure where that MS1 was headed, and I don't want to go back into that open field following him. So I'm just going to be patient here and wait for my teammates to move in and hopefully get some spots. I decide to move into the base, and because I know that's where that T1 was, and you know, I think this is probably my only mistake of the game here. I couldn't get my gun to pressure down in time to get a good shot off on him, and he took over 100 hit points from me, over half of my hit points. So I'm able to reload faster than him and finish him off, but I'm left with 13 hit points here, so I have to be extremely cautious because one or two shots and my game could be over. I see that T1's looking at me, and the Renault ought to finishes him off. And so this is where I get extremely cautious, and this game is all about knowing when to take risks and when not to. Sometimes when you get on losing streaks, you can push too much and try to do too much, but you've always got to remember you got to stay in the game to win it. And so I've sped this up a little bit here just because I'm sitting in cap and we've got them down to one player left, and you know what, if he's not going to come at me, that's fine. I'll go ahead and just cap the base for the win. It was a little bit unfortunate there. I almost had him. And I'm not sure what our guys were doing, but they just didn't finish him off, and we ended up capping the base. And this was a mastery game for me with 625 damage. You can see that other T1 did pretty well there with 700. Anyway, that was a fun game. So on to the next game on mines. You can see this was a tier 1, tier 2 battle. And this one wasn't as fun, but I think there's some good learning opportunities in this video. As you've heard me talk about before, the key with mines here is to take the hill and control the map. So I'm pushing forward. I'm looking at my mini map, seeing that I don't have much support behind me. So I'm going to take it a little cautiously and just pull across this rock and then drop back down. And up comes that medium. They're starting to circle the base, and I get hit. So, you know what? I don't have any support. I'm just going to back off. And this is really where, you know, the team playing together is important. That Renault ought to, he pushes the hill. I mean, he knows the right strategy, but he just doesn't have any support. And I'm not really wanting to go up there and get shot from 3 different directions. So you can see I'm staying down at the bottom of the hill here, where the guys in the base don't really have a good shot on me, and I can pull back here behind this rock. Now you can see both those guys that did go up are now both no longer in the game. And I continue to back up because if you look, I've got 2 guys sitting in spawn, and a guy just to the left and a guy just behind me, and I don't know what he's doing. So I can get a couple good shots on, and then I can back up and pretty much get myself out of view for the reload. And I talked about that in that previous battle. And I guess that I think it was a T26, just rolls across the middle there. And so I can tell that this game's not going to go well. I'm just trying to keep myself alive as long as possible, just to see what happens. Get a little bit of impatient there, and take, I don't know, I got a couple shots in, but probably not the best use of my APCR Pramo, considering he wasn't showing me much, and the dispersion on this tank is not the best. That's the problem with these machine guns. You are going to lower your hit rate just because of the dispersion. So now we're down to 6 on 3. It doesn't look good at this point, but I'm holding steady here. Get that tier 1 out. And this is the tank that kind of does me in here. He gets several good shots on, and I get some support behind me. But now we're starting to get circled. Got a guy, the BT2 here has come up onto the hill, and I'm not sure if he's got the gun depression there to shoot me. So he eventually just pulls down, and being a higher tier with bigger firepower than me, he finishes me off here. But I do a good bit of damage. You know, we're down at this point to 1 tank left, and this is the guy that's stayed in spawn the whole time, and I mean, I guess that's okay. If you have, like, the TD, I think would have been fine if he'd have just stayed there, but we need firepower on the hill. He manages to get it down to 2-on-1, but he doesn't survive much longer. So you can see there some of my positioning on this map, just trying to keep myself alive as long as possible and to do as much damage as possible. You can see I did 513 damage. I was a low tier, but clearly the highest damage on our team there. Okay, so the last one I'm going to show you is on Fort Despair. Again, this is an all tier 1 battle. We are spawning from the north side. I let the team know that I'd like to go right, and like I said before, I like to control that corner of the map. So away we go here. And in this video, yeah, smart ass, right and wrong. That's real nice. But anyway, we're pushing on. Ask for some help. Probably not gonna get it. This is tier 1 after all. We gotta train you noobs to work as a team, right? Anyway, moving on to the right hand corner, and you can see here as I approach this small little berm, I slow down, and I'm taking it cautiously. If anyone comes screeching around that corner, I'm aimed on them. So nothing happens, so I'm going to push up behind this rock, and you will see that as I creep around here, I get spotted. The light bulb goes off, and so any minute now, there it is. So no point going any further alone. They could have 3 to 5 guns all pointed at me because we haven't spotted a single one of them yet. So again, knowing when to be aggressive and when to be cautious is a big challenge in this game. So keep that in mind. Since I don't want to go down that alley, I'm going to come around this side of this brick wall, and we're going to get some spots in. This is a game I played with that was fortunate, little ammo rack. It's always nice. I played in the 37mm gun. You can see it shoots 3 shots in the magazine and has a longer reload time. But, pretty accurate. You got to be patient here. You can see I'm letting the aim go all the way back down. So now I see that most of my team's pushing the other side of that spawn area. So I'm gonna push in here close to this building so that I have cover to get behind me. You'll see that I really need it. So there's 4 tanks spotted. I'm going to take 3 shots on this guy, and this T1 that's on the other side of the berm there is going to hit me. And now I'm having problems with my gun depression, and probably panicking a little bit because I know that he can finish me off with 1 shot. So I get 3 off, hoping for the best, and then I just pull right around this corner. Like I said, this is using the terrain to your advantage, always having a place to escape to, and finish that guy off. And again, I'm gonna take a shot so I have a full magazine, and I'm just going to wait for the reload and hope I get a little bit of help from some teammates. So that guy got shot. He's probably aiming at somebody else, which he is. Move in and finish him off for the 4th kill. And I managed to survive even though I was in a pretty difficult situation there. And I think I did 582 damage, and that was good for a level 1 badge. Anyway, so nice fun tank. The key here with Tier 1 is without a doubt to know your terrain, use it to your advantage, know when to be aggressive and when to be cautious and stay alive and finish the game off for the win. That wraps up my review of the T1 in Tier 1 US tank. As always, guys, stay safe out there, have fun, and let's try not to get fingered. Littlefinger out.